Lincoln Center is part of the town of Lincoln. It was settled in 1830s and incorporated in 1852. The town's setting is tranquil and peaceful. There is a pleasing mix of forests and fields on rolling hills, with several ponds and streams, and of course the Penobscot River. The region supports both summer and winter recreation for residents and tourists. Frost Street, which runs along the shores of Stump Pond, a 202-acre reservoir, provides great views of Washburn Hill and the Stump Pond Valley. Here, fishermen find a variety of fish, including perch and bass and pickerel. The average depth of the pond is 7 feet, with a maximum depth of 13 feet. It is also known as Snag Pond. The outlet flows into Kumbalasi Stream, which follows along Frost Street to the Penobscot River. Along the town farm road, there are many beautiful fields and farms. There's also Jado Highlands Golf Course, a course that has terrific views and challenging play for golfers at every skill level. Kumbalasi Pond is a 211-acre pond located at the end of Town Farm Road. Fishermen find a variety of fish, including perch and bass and pickerel. The average depth is 15 feet and is just a beautiful location. The Lincoln Congregational Church hosts the annual River Drivers Supper Beanhole Bean Supper at Ludden Field. Beanhole beans, reflector oven biscuits, coleslaw, hot dogs, coffee and punch and water and desserts is served by the riverside. The beanhole bean recipe comes down from the river drivers, the men who took pulpwood down the river to market. The Penobscot River ferry came to Lincoln Center in the mid-1800s. The ferry ride only cost 15 cents. People rode the ferries to avoid traveling all the way down to Howland to cross via their bridge. There was a long cable stretched across the river so the ferry would not float down the river, and so the operator could pull them across in either direction. They had docks at each side that were movable to go with the tide of the river, and they had pick poles and peavies to help push themselves across. The ferry lasted for nearly 3/4 of a century before the Chester Bridge was built in 1950. The railroad came to Lincoln Center in about 1852, when land was bought to construct a railroad. The construction started in 1864 and ended in 1868. Railroad was originally owned by E&N Railroad, and it was eventually owned by Guilford Transportation. The Lincoln Center Railroad Station was in use from 1872 until 1928. The Lincoln Center School was built in 1926 to replace an older one-room schoolhouse. The old school is still standing and is now the Lincoln Center Church of God. When the Ella P. Burr School was built in 1956, the Lincoln School was converted to the VFW building and is now an event center. Howard Annis was a well-known name in Lincoln Center history. He was a woodsman turned storekeeper who catered to many woodsmen in the area. He supplied them with tools and clothing and food. His huge wheels of cheese, barrels of molasses, and slabs of bacon were only a few items sold in his old country store. In addition to his merchandise, the store was also home to the Lincoln Center Post Office for over 80 years. Howard was the postmaster for 43 of those years.